IPMNation.com.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. It's Brian hanging out with you for the hour. Now, whether that hour is live, as we are right now, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, or you're listening, golly, there's a whole host of places that we can listen now, including here on IPM Nation at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then the rebroadcast at 8 p.m. If you're listening to the 8 p.m. rebroadcast, hope your day went well. Hope you're having a great evening. You might be listening on iTunes whenever you are, from wherever you are around the world. Thank you so much for all the texts, all the emails, the messages that just kind of give me an idea of what you're thinking, what you like, what you don't like. I like them both. The baby's laughing, the baby's crying. I like all those sounds all mixed into one big pile. And I believe, as you know, the reason we continue, we're coming up on our 80th episode. The reason we continue to be number one, not just in the time slot, but number one across the network, the reason we're number one is this is a show about you, and I think people are tired of being reminded of all the ways they're not themselves. Everyone getting a little beat up lately. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, you should do this, you should do that. I tend to think that maybe you should be your own boss. I tend to think that perhaps you already know what's best for you. And that's going to be the focus of today's show. No more, another one, growth. I don't want to get into it now. Let me just say this. 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL, S-O-U-L. Drop me a text. Of course, over on Facebook, you can hit me up there. Twitter, at Brian Brawdy. Facebook is Brian Brawdy Official. Ooh, official. And then also allnaturalbeing.com. Leave me your email. I'll send you mine. We're going to hook up that way. I'm so excited this week. Next Monday, which let me pull up a quick calendar here. One would think I would know this already, but let me launch a quick calendar. Next, where are we? The 26th. Next Monday, August 1st. Why not? That's a good enough way to kick it off. August 1st. We're going to be starting the live video component. A live video component here at All Natural Big. So that'll be kind of fun. We're going to be doing some live Facebook stuff. We're going to be doing some YouTube stuff. So here we go. August 1st. It took me a couple little extra months to be able to ramp up to speed, because if you've been listening to the show, if we've been hanging out together for a while, you know that I get up early every morning. I produce these things in the moment, right? Like baked fresh. Who wants 2-day-old coffee? So I get up every morning and do these things. So I'm learning different things as I go, in addition to doing all the writing and studying. And then, my day gig, doing the television commercials, the news appearances, and everything else. So it's been a little bit of it hasn't even been hectic because I love it. I love it. It's been a wild ride, and I'm just ramping up to that point to where I hope I'm learning the best way of being to hang with you all, and we'll see if video helps that at all. All right, so let's hop in. Some things I wanted to get to this morning. I talk all the time about, I think even in the open it says, philosophical loofah. I like the idea of being a jackhammer, a pumice stone, the eraser at the end of a number 2 pencil. Because here's the gig with me. Very simple, easy to figure out. I think you're already amazing. I think you're already special. I think you're already unique. I think you're already brilliant. Go on down the line. And I simply ask all the time to be impeccably human. All you have to do, turn on any news, social media outlet, anywhere. Turn it on. Everyone's busy slamming humanity. Everybody. Oh, well, if we're only better, we'll get it in the next life. What's wrong with this life? which is why I call all the time, be impeccably human. Not the watered-down version you've grown accustomed to. And it puts me at odds with a lot of people. Believe me, a lot of the snake oil salespeople, a lot of the shills, the self-help industry tactics book, playbook, how they should do it. Because you know what I say? No more upgrades. No more transformations. No more, oh, wouldn't you like to be who you've always dreamt of being? No. I say restore your core. Be impeccably human. Go back. Buckminster Fuller, everyone is a born genius. Society degeniuses them. Go back to the pre-degeniused stage. Go back to the root of who you are. Be impeccably human, because I fall back on this every single time. Not a lot of wiggle room, not a lot of waffle room for me in this when I say that everything you've always needed, you've always had. Everything. People say, oh, I need to be smarter. Oh, I need to be more passionate. Oh, I need to be better looking, taller, faster, whatever it's going to be. Not really. I'd like you to be impeccably human, and that's my job. If I'm a pumice stone, I want to remove some of the crap. Pumice stone, I want to remove some of the varnish, some of the shellac, some of the polish, some of the paint that you've been coated over with, some of the scaffolding, right? Some of the facade that's been layered over your all-natural being. So I like the idea of being that eraser. Erase, scratch, scratch, scratch. Get away from it all. Because I think if you restore your core, and that's a part of our... Let's do this. We'll jump to the anaerobic aphorism this morning. Then I got three quick stories, and then we'll get into the segments. Why do I say all the time, restore your core? Anaerobic aphorism. Because in a flash it strikes you. I promise, if it hasn't already, it will. In a flash it strikes you. The ride, life, time here in the labyrinth begins with the realization, the heartfelt realization, that joy's passion is unleashed not with transformation, but with personal restoration. Restore your core. Everyone's busy running around hoping to be better at some future date. Well, you're already a badass. You're already a rock star. You already could be working the red carpet if you just remember who you are. No amnesia, no blind spots, no baloney, no mashugana. Just be who you already are. I'm a huge fan. I just was thinking of it yesterday. If you had to distill it down, right, you know, everyone's talking about, an elevator speech. Why don't you tell me, give me a 3-second definition of what you do. All right, well, I came up with a three-word definition that we could use. We could just say, oh, you're a pumice stone. Yeah, people think you're a jackhammer. Oh, okay, let's do this for a quick riff. If you had to define Brian, Jack blank, you fill in the blank. Some would say jackhammer. Some would say something else. But here's the bottom line. My gig, my job, and I love it. 5 days a week. To be honest with you, I think about this stuff all the time, so it's not even 5 days a week. I happen to be live here 5 days a week. All the rebroadcast, iTunes, all the rest. I happen to be here live 5 days a week. But my goal, 24 hours a day, I really do fall asleep thinking about this stuff. And I wake up, thankfully. Same, if you're here, right, you got to be grateful that you're here another day. I know I am every day. Here's what I think. You want to know what my gig is? Excavate your extraordinary. I think the extraordinary is already in you. You're just covered over. We're just covered over. We're just bogged down in all the ordinary that everyone else wants us to be covered in. The thicket of the hive mind, of the herdlings. People don't want you to excavate your extraordinary, but that's what I'm here to do, to work with you together, tag team, to excavate your extraordinary. Because I think it sits at your core, as you know. So no more, I need a higher consciousness. Oh, please. Oh, I need to upgrade. And I've thought about it, because we use these terms. But the power of words is that upgrade to what? Everything you've ever needed, you already have. Be impeccably human. Remember who you are, pre-baggage, pre-varnish, pre-shellac. Remember that person. And that's when joy's passion is unleashed. Not with transformation, but with personal restoration. So that's going to be my goal from now on. Maybe I'll have t-shirts done. Oh, bumper stickers. Excavate your extraordinary. All right, 3 quick stories that I want to get to. And all of them, oddly enough, were kind of like triggered. That's the way it works here in the Labyrinth, right? That's the mystery, the magic, the beauty of throwing yourself in. Thy will be done. The Tao follows its own path. Let nature be your teacher. It is what it is. Whatever, however you define it. When you throw yourself into the Labyrinth and go, well, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got going on here. So, I'm reading an article. Let me see here. New York Magazine. Let's pull it up. Then we'll get to my little story of yesterday. Title of the article by Brad Stuhlberg. How exercise makes you more resilient to mental fatigue. Great article. Basically says that the more you work out, you do something physically, whatever it is, however you define it, that it's called cross-stressor adaptation hypothesis. Not much of a hypothesis because I think it's really true. Exercise, likely due to its unique combination of being both hard on the body and the brain, and the physiological changes, according to the article, that it brings, makes people more resilient not only to physical stress, but also to emotional and cognitive stress. Quote, it is for these reasons that scientists have written that, quote, exercise is associated with emotional resilience to acute stress in healthy adults, and that exercise has been called a keystone habit or an activity that leads to positive changes in other areas of your life. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be back-breaking exercise. You don't have to rack your knees. You don't. As I've said many times before, if you need a pillow to meditate, you may want to check with your doctor. I'm just saying, you don't need a pillow to meditate. Do it in the moment. Breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon, take action, which leads me to a little bit of something that happened yesterday to me. All right, so it's like sunny and 185 degrees, 200 degrees, so whatever it was yesterday. Maybe it was like 120 in the shade. And, I get done with the show, and what I try to do each morning after the show is I go to get my version of a workout. Now, workouts, that's the beauty of it. It can be anything to anybody. It doesn't have to worry about speed. We don't have to literally keep up with the Joneses. You go out for a walk. You go out for a cycle. You go out for a skateboard. You go out for a paddle board. You go out, whatever you're going to do. Just move a little. Get a little active. So, someone said to me the other day, they go, you know what, Bri? You got a high suck threshold. Probably because I don't look a lot of it as suck. We talk all the time. Don't embrace the suck. Just engage it. When bad stuff happens in your life, well, apparently I have a high suck threshold. Because one, I don't look at it as suck. I look at it as a lesson here in the Labyrinth, something to teach me. But I thank you for that compliment. That came in 331-684-7685. So this high suck threshold, take you back to the story yesterday. So I leave, have a little, something to drink. Grab an aspirin. You decide I'm going to go out for a run. I'm only going to go out for a certain distance, and then I'm going to get back in, and then I'll get cleaned up, and then I'll start my writing. Try to read a book a day, so get my book in, whether it's Kindle or paperback book. Get that in. Start early today. Make my calls, do my emails. That kind of thing. So I decide to head out on a run, and I usually stay out for a prescribed amount of time. What I love about running or cycling, this morning when I'm done, I'll go out cycling. What I love about it is that I never really have a plan in my mind. I go left when the left hits me. I go right when the right hits me. If I have to deal with traffic, I go whatever direction the traffic puts me. Kind of like how I view life in the Labyrinth. Wherever it pushes me, wherever it pulls me, that's where I'm going to go. So I start on my run, and I get back. I do this particular course that puts me back at the house at the distance that I'm going to run. And I'm like, you know what? Stay out for one more mile. It's all right. Let's stay out for one more mile. It's not like it's brutal. It's brutal with a little b, but not a capital B and like a handful of exclamation points. It's just brutal, right? Small brutal. A whisper brutal. Not that bad yet. I'm out early enough. I'll get in before I start getting baked. So then I say, okay, great. I know of a particular course that adds an extra mile. So I do that, and I come back, and I go, it won't kill you. Go for another mile. I'm thinking, okay. Now, if you're imagining your own workout, maybe it's an extra 100 yards, 500 yards, quarter mile, 5 miles, 10 miles, whatever you're going to do. So I come back, and I end up saying, oh, you know what? Let's go out another mile. Only this time, my ankles, my knees, my back, it's starting to get to me a little bit. So I'm thinking, I better not do this loop that puts me right in front of the house, right at my mailbox again when I'm done, because I'm not sure that I would push myself to another mile. So I go, okay, I got one under my belt. So now I do a course that takes me away from the front of the house. And I end up going out 2 miles. Turn around, come back. Now I know, as soon as I start approaching the mailbox, my mind kicks in and goes, oh, thank goodness this is over. My knees, my back, my ankles, I can barely breathe. It's like an oven out here. And I realized the closer I got to what I thought at the time was going to be my stopping point, the mailbox, right? Somewhere between the mailbox and the fire hydrant, on my curb. That's where I measure. So as I get closer and closer, my body's just screaming. And, which reminds me of the high suck threshold. I get to the mailbox and I go, yeah, calm down, needle nits. We're going for another mile. Now, here's why this story, I hope, will be a little telltale for you. The moment I decided to go that other mile, the moment I passed my mailbox, ended up coming back with the longest run I've had in 8 years. The moment I passed my mailbox, and it was clear, I'm not turning around now. I'm not stopping. Guess what happened? All the pain in my body gone. My mind was like, we tried. It was really something else. As I got close to what I thought was going to be the finish line, every part of my body was like, cool, we're going to stop. You start picturing, I'll have a nice tall glass of ice water when I finish. I'll towel off. Everything will be great. I'll do a little bit of stretching, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be good. We're going to stop right here. But the moment I push through, part of my mind goes, nah, he's not coming back now. He's insane. Leave him be. No sense lobbying, no sense trying to talk him out of it because he's not going to stop. Here's one thing I found. I never run an extra, whatever the distance is going to be, I never run a fraction of it and stop. I'm a very numbers, I guess, kind of guy where I go, okay, if we're going to add, we're going to add by X, not a fraction of X. Longest run, 8 years. Longest run since my hike across Death Valley. And I did it by simply, as I got to the finishing line, and my body was just like giving me every reason to quit. I was like, no thanks. I'll push out for another one. And then the voices, all the pain, all the naysay, it just stopped. And that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. To ask you ever have those situations where it just seems like it's going to be a tough and your mind automatically dovetails all the reasons why you should stop, all the reasons why you shouldn't push forward, all the reasons why you should just surrender? But if you look at the story this morning, the science of us, it says, hey, if you can do it physically, then when it comes to the mental aspect of it, we challenge ourselves physically, then mentally we get to the point where we're like, well, I pushed through that. Why can't I push through this? So what would be an example in your life? How could you use this? So at the very next time you're confronted with something, maybe if you go for a walk or a bicycle ride or a swim, what if you added an extra 100 yards? You go, no, I'm not stopping, no matter what the body says. And what I found, when you glue some of these together, maybe 20-minute victory, maybe a 20-second victory. Whatever you're doing, I'm going to push for 20 seconds more. That's it. And then because they're scalable, they're stackable. I'll tell you another thing I did. The smile that came across my face when I realized that I wasn't coming back, that it would be well in excess of 10 miles. I won't tell you the number, but it was over 10 miles. The smile that came to my face, it reminded me of yesterday's show 1 and 2. I really felt that sense. Those endorphins rush in and go, we'll kill the pain. Don't worry about it. You just keep doing what you're doing. So what would be a situation where you could do a best acronym and push for another 20 seconds? Maybe another 20 minutes. Up to you. But when you do that, it transmits to other areas of your life. You go, no, I could do it in the bike. I could do it in the swim. I could do it with my homework. I could do it with this stuff over here. So why couldn't I do it over there? It's all, here you go. It's all mind control. It's telling your mind, yeah, I get that it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but go sit down in the corner until I'm done. I promise, just try it. Think of an example right now where you could push an extra 20 seconds, where you could push an extra 20 minutes, and how that might make that little fraction in all of your day might make all the difference in your world. All right, I want to jump to another story real quick. I saw this, and it made me think of sometimes how we operate our minds. But it's a story over at newser.com. And the title of the story was, according to the Australian team, the Olympic Village in Rio, right? They're going to the Olympics. The Olympic Village is, quote, unfit for habitation. Unfit for habitation. And, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll see all kinds of stories. Oh, there's water running down the walls. The wiring isn't fixed. There's all these other things going on. And then, of course, as you will, if you're the mayor of Rio, you get all pissy about it. And then he fires back and just says, quote, I'm just about ready to put a kangaroo in front of their building so it can jump up and down and make them feel more at home. Well, that's helpful. Make fun of their attractions, the kangaroos. That's groovy. But in any event, maybe start to think, what are those examples where our minds are unfit for habitation? Where we buy in to the negative opinions of those around us. When we buy into all the shoulds and shouldn'ts of those around us. We buy into that. Maybe that makes our minds unfit for habitation. Because I certainly yesterday in the run could have bought into the messages of pain and boredom and it's hot and I'm thirsty. But I was able to stop all that information from coming by smiling and going, no, thank you, sir. May I have another? I have a high suck threshold. And my promise to you is that you have a high suck threshold as well. You just haven't tapped into it in a while. Humanity itself has a high suck threshold. It has to. Or it wouldn't be where it is today. We've got thicker skin. We've got a greater backbone. We've got everything we need to be everything we've always been. Except in those times where our minds are unfit for habitation. Where we beat up on ourselves. When far from being our own best friend, far from being our own biggest fan, we give in. We let the hive mentality control us. The herdling mindsets. Do you ever wonder if your opinions are yours or whether you just borrowed them? We're going to get to that, what I call passive modes of cognition. We're going to get to that in segment 3. But in what stages is your mind unfit for habitation? Do not enter should be a big placard. Do not enter. At times when we're depressed, unhappy, sad, apathetic, all comes back to amnesia. All comes back to our blind spots. All comes back to us forgetting what it's like to be impeccably human. Any mindset that leaves you contrary to who you are at your core, I would say that could qualify for unfit for habitation. And then, last evening, down at the river, the final story before we'll do the anaerobic aphorism one more time. Hey, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
IPM Nation. Oh, I should mention tonight I'm doing something with Jen and her show on IPM Nation. I believe it's IPM Nation 2, and I believe that it's going to be at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. So Jen's going to interview me on her show and talk about, well, who knows what we're going to talk about. We'll do it in the moment, right? But tonight, I'm assuming immediately after the replay, the 8 p.m. replay of All Natural Being, I'm going to be hanging out live with Jen, talking about, who knows, from behind the mind of Brian. Scary thought, but we'll be doing that live tonight, IPM Nation, Channel 2. But go on over today. I'm sure they'll be advertising that. And Jen and I get to hang out, and I'm really excited about that. She's great. She's been really helpful to me, too, in terms of learning a lot of this radio stuff. So I'll be hanging out with her this evening. You may want to check that out. All right. Oh, so last night down at the river, it really was like a version of The Walking Dead. Now, I'm not making fun of people, because actually I ended up being a fan of this. I wasn't beforehand, because I really didn't know what was going on. But I pull up down to the river. Actually, the boys and I are going to go hang out a while. And, we climb around in the jungle gym, play in the sand pit, throw some rocks in the river, wait for the train to go by. Kid stuff, fun stuff, the real important stuff. And honest to goodness, had to be 150 people all walking around looking at their cell phones. So you know me, I'm getting ready to go. Once again, our cyborgs, right? Everyone's got to have their cellular phone. They still call them cellular phones? Smartphones, portable phones, mobile phones, whatever they're called. Everyone's busy looking down, walking around. Honest to goodness, I watched someone walk into a garbage can. Literally, right into the garbage can. Garbage can one, by the way, it's bolted to the ground. And then it dawned on me. I heard someone say the P word, Pokemon. Pokemon. They're all out playing Pokemon Go. Beautiful night. Down at the river, everyone, and it really was, in some situations, like watching birds fly in sync, or bees fly, move around, ants moving in sync. Everyone looking down on their phone, and they're playing Pokemon Go. And then I thought to myself, well, at least they're getting out, they're getting a little bit of exercise, and then it dawned on me, Pokemon Go is the single greatest proof of my concept and all natural being of life in the labyrinth. You're out on a hunt. You're out on an investigation. You're out as a detective trying to uncover the clues. And that's it in the labyrinth. The lunges, the lapses, the upswings and downturns, the lefts, the rights, the pivots, the swerves. No cul-de-sacs. Or all cul-de-sacs. No dead ends. Only cul-de-sacs. That's Pokemon Go. You go where the adventure takes you. So it gave me a newfound appreciation. I'm not going to be playing anytime soon, but for those that are getting out, they're getting some exercise, they're enjoying the outside. Pokemon Go is the single greatest testament, the single greatest PR move for my belief in life in the labyrinth, because they're going wherever the adventure takes them. It's all improv. It's not an expedition. There's no as the crow flies carrot at the end of the stick. Here's where I'm going to end up so I can finally be happy, fulfilled, successful, feel like I'm loved, feel like I'm important, read the press clippings, yada, yada, yada. It's in the moment. It's improvisation. It's adventure. Something about to happen. So I think there's hope for us yet. Everyone out there, Pokemon Go, running around, trying to capture their Pokemons. Right? They're plural, right? Pokemons. Try to catch them. That's life in the labyrinth. That's us looking for the fingerprints of Providence. That's us looking for the clues, for the evidence as to what we're to do next in the recovery of who we truly are, the discovery of who we've always been, being impeccably human. Restore your core. No more upgrades, no more transformations. Wow, it's so aggravating. This morning, wouldn't you like to always, or wouldn't you like to be finally who you've always dreamt of being? You already are that person. You wouldn't be having the dreams. What if dreams are recollections of something you've already had in your own mind? And you're gonna create that right now, in this moment. The unimaginable power of living in the present moment. That gives you some power to create, recreate, just about anything you like. Restore your core. Go back to who you already are. Go back to being your best friend, your biggest fan. I can hear all the people going, "Oh, Brad, that's just a recipe for hedonism. You're saying we should be narcissistic." Given the condition of the world today, a healthy shot of narcissism, I don't think will hurt anybody. But not the narcissism of binge thinking, not the narcissism that attaches itself to a watered-down human being. I'm talking about the real you, the true you, the pre-baggage you. What did Michelangelo say? That the statue of David was already in the stone. I was tasked with removing the excess marble so that the statue could come to life. So I guess he knew about excavating the extraordinary. Well, my suggestion is that you excavate your extraordinary. No more upgrades, no more transformations, no more BS. Which is why I said in the anaerobic aphorism, then we'll jump into today's segments, why I said in the anaerobic aphorism, that's when it hits, that's when it strikes you, that's when life grabs you and goes, will you wake up? Joy's passion is unleashed, not with transformation. What are you going to transform into? You're already everything you need to be right now in this moment. That's not what releases Joy's passion. It's released with personal restoration. Remove all that excess marble. I'm looking right now at the library here in the studio, Michelangelo's, the poetry of Michelangelo. I won't go over and pull the book off the shelf, but I can tell you that right there I've got underlined where he says, with chisel in hand, all is well. He was going to keep chiseling. He was going to keep moving the excess marble. It was a philosophical loofah, a jackhammer, a pumice stone, a chisel, an eraser at the end of a number 2 pencil, because he knew that the statue was encased in the marble already. He was tasked with bringing that statue to life. Well, what if you're encased with the hive mentality, the herdling mentality? What if you're encased? Oh, I got 10,000 followers on Facebook. I got 250,000 people on Twitter. Would you ever wonder, did you notice of late, we talked about it yesterday, nobody wants to be friends with someone that has a contrary opinion. All you have to do is go to my Facebook page. I'll bet you there's an equal number of people from Trump as there are an equal number of people for Hillary Clinton on my Facebook page. I love them both trains of thought, because they're my friends. Because they disagree with me, I'm going to disown them. That's what the powers that be want from you and I. They want the division, because they know if they keep us distracted with the division, we're too powerful to do anything about being controlled. But it's the same within the human mind. As long as our egos can keep us distracted with division, then we feel like we're doing work just trying to spackle our cracks. But spackling our cracks isn't helping us to excavate your extraordinary. Not helping us at all. So maybe a useful tip, a trick, a technique, a tactic is to remember who you are, to be impeccably human. And being impeccably human means you have a thick skin, you have a healthy backbone, a healthy sense of self, where your mind can tolerate the opinions of people that have a contrary opinion. Who knows? We may learn something. Never can tell. So when people say, oh, you can't talk religion, well, that ship sailed in my life. Well, you can't talk politics. I like the idea of you being your own guru. I say you genuflect. It's to that part of you. Remember the term namaste. I worship that portion in you where you and the divine are one. You want to genuflect? Genuflect to yourself. You want a spiritual boss? You want a politician? You want a priest? You want a pundit? You want a philosopher? Be that to yourself. Excavate your extraordinary. And that's when the joy in your life will begin. Let's not pile on with more stuff, with more crap, with more bling, with more baubles. Oh, if only I achieve X. Oh, if only I can upgrade my life. If only, and believe me, I've used the term before, so it's a little embarrassing now to be going, you know what? Maybe I want to downgrade my life. Maybe I want to downgrade. Maybe I want to get back to who I was before all the craziness in my life. Maybe that's why it says you got to be like a kid in order to enter the kingdom of heaven. Maybe that's where he was going with that. Maybe. I'll tell you, I watch my children, and they're resilient and creative. They don't like being told no. They don't take that well, right? Maybe you and I shouldn't tolerate being told no as well as we do. Maybe we shouldn't have passive modes of cognition. Maybe we should think on our own feet. Maybe we should have a thick skin. Maybe we should have the backbone we were born with before we traded it in for the papier-mâché spine of the herd. Something to think about. All right, in our remaining time, nice of you, Brad, to get around to this morning's show, 36 minutes into it. Today's show, half hour in. We're going to talk about in segment 1, estrangement gone overboard, which is just perfectly timed when you look at all the political stuff going on in the States, at least here now. And a lot of the political stuff going on overseas. A lot of political stuff going on everywhere. We're going to look at estrangement gone overboard, which, if you remember, is my definition of the word ego. Estrangement gone overboard. I also think that your ego has an expiration date. Now, I'm not talking about anybody dying. I'm just meaning the ego, that part of you that controls, that manipulates, that tries to keep in check who you truly are. I think it has a shelf life. I think it has an expiration date. It's helpful in the beginning until we get our own balance, our own equilibrium, our own ability to make it through the world, to stay afloat. But the ego has an expiration date. And you want to know what happens? When we leave it around, what was it, Ben Franklin, that said that guests like fish, house guests like fish, start to stink after 3 days? You want to know how the ego starts to stink if you've left it around longer than it should be? If you don't let your all-natural being take control, run the ship, fly the plane, you know what happens? We grow up believing we can be insulted. We grow up believing that we all have thin skin. Oh, you can't say things. So political correctness just goes absolutely crazy. That's how the ego starts to smell when you've left it too long. Because a healthy sense of self tolerates all the different opinions. Let's take a quick break.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
Great question. How much longer will we let them hijack our heads and our hearts? The ego loves having your head hijacked. Makes it easier to hijack your heart. Your estrangement gone overboard. Your separation. You want to know the root of terrorism? You want to know the root of strife? You want to know the root of homicidal rage, however it displays out? You want to know the root of that? Estrangement from the field. Estrangement from the underlying connection. Now people say, oh, Brian's in a very spiritual mood this morning, isn't he? No. I'm talking about the science of it. Whether you believe in heaven or the Higgs field, we're all connected. End of story. End of story. And if your ego doesn't want to hear that, then I suggest it's starting to smell like 3-day-old fish. End of story. We're all connected. And the moment we begin to realize that, your all-natural being goes, yeah, I believe we are. Now what am I going to do with that? The world is created in my mind. Look at all the scientific studies now that say, long story short, what you focus on, you make real. What you focus on, you make real. Your vision makes it viscerally true. countless studies, no need to go into all the names, and of the thousands of times they've been replicated. But human consciousness, where you decide to turn your flashlight to highlight some of the darker recesses of your own mind, where you decide to turn that flashlight, that's what makes it real. Your flashlight's endpoint fabricates it in the world. So when we're estranged from that connection, when we're estranged from that sense of self, and the people, whoever they are, your ego included, that want to control you, they love the estrangement because they can keep us fighting. Well, I have to tell you, for my friends that support Donald Trump and for my friends that support Hillary Clinton, I would do whatever I could to help them. If a house was on fire, either one of them were in the house, it was burning down, I'd run in to drag them out. Because we're connected outside of all the absolute bat crap craziness. That's why I hope that more and more of us realize that our ego has an expiration date. It has a shelf life. Once we get to adulthood, it's time to jettison it. Time to kick it out. It's time to remind it who works for who. Your mind works for you. You don't work for it. All right, segment number 2. Speaking of your mind, I wanted to talk this one. I guess we got right into segment number 1 without highlighting all the other ones. My apologies. Segment number 2. Let me ask you a question. What is your resting default mode? What is it? Your ego shield. Your mental moat. If you remember medieval castles, everyone had a moat. They lived on a little island. They had the water all around them, so that the drawbridge, without that, you had to go through the moat. Get all bogged down in the mud. What's your mental moat? And by that I mean, how do you buffer your triggers? If someone says something really mean, you say something really mean to yourself. In those moments you think, oh, that was insulting. Before your all-natural being kicks in and goes, you can't insult me. I'm not a pincushion. I'm not a pincushion. What do you mean insulting? I'm not accepting that package. Send it back. Return to vendor. What's your resting default mode? Do you think maybe, and sometimes it happens, I don't think it's the same all the time. I think the thickness of our skin can vary. The girth of our backbone can vary from time to time. I mean, you and I can work on making sure that we always retain our natural thickness, our natural girth, that we have a nice little ego shield, so when the ego kicks in and goes, I don't know, so you better look at this. What's your resting default mode? Are you to the point where your self is out there to such a degree that you can be insulted just at the drop of a hat? Or do you go, nah, it takes a little more for me to feel like I've been attacked. Excuse me. It takes a little more for me to feel like I've been attacked. What's your mental moat? How much of a temporal terrain has to be spanned? What is the term? Oh, it really gets my goat. Really ticked me off. What's the thickness? What's the depth of your mental moat? And once you and I work on that, and we can do it with the best acronym. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, smile that you're even there to breathe in and then exhale. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, then talk, then think, then tap into your energy, then take action. The cool thing is, the more we practice the best acronym, the deeper our moat, the thicker our ego shield, both inside and outside. That's why we ask the question all the time. How much longer are you going to let them hijack your heart and your head? Well, your ego and its entourage, the hive mindset, the herdlings, those people that want us divided, those energies that want you fractured, fragmented. Again, I still find it's telltale to me always. The computer's acting up. What's the first thing you do? You defragment it because it wants to be whole. And all this talk about unity in both camps, Republican and Democrat, unity, unity, unity. Well, it's only unity to such time as we can attack the other side of the aisle. That's not unity. That's being used, not unity. So again, I ask, what's your resting default mode? Now would be a good time. Take out your journal, your logbook, your police blotter, whatever you got. Take it out and answer that. What's your resting default mode? You go, Brian, I think sometimes I can be a little thin-skinned. Groovy. I'm with you. Not always easy. It's why you have to have that shield. But you can practice. You can build that like any other muscle. If you could learn to do the perfect push-up today, couldn't get up tomorrow morning and do 100 of them. Takes time. You got to build it. But in the moment, if you just say, hey, what was it, count to 10. That's probably not some bad advice. I don't even think you got to wait to 10. Take your deep breath. And believe me, that part of your body that's used to going to guns right away and fighting just to fight, and if you've forgotten what's that like, just go on Facebook. Go on Twitter. You want to really treat yourself? Go to Huffington Post and say, Drudge Report. Or, like MSNBC and Fox News. And you can predict the battles right away. How does that help us? How does that help us? Because it's all a fraud. It's all a fake. Underlying all that, we're connected. Heaven or the Higgs field, you decide how you define the divine, how you decipher and decode it. It's up to you. Outside of that, anyone that pushes for the estrangement gone overboard, anyone that pushes for that is not telling us the truth. You and I aren't telling ourselves the truth if we don't realize that we're connected, that the labyrinth that we live in is a part of us, that our environment, right, that we're a context. We're a cognitive context. We want to think, look like Wonder Woman or Superman, put our hands, with our elbows bent, we put our hands on our hips, dun, dun, dun. But you and I are still cognitive context. Everything going on around us is a part of who we are. It's a part of our makeup, a part of our constitution. So shouldn't we have a say? Shouldn't we have an ego shield? Shouldn't we have the ability to vote? Yes, this is what I believe in. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I feel. And then leave ourselves open to contrary opinion. Who knows? We could learn something. We could. Maybe not. Don't know. But we could. Estrangement gone overboard. Because it happens to all of us. Let me ask you again. What is your resting default mode? And because we can slide that. A little cursor, a little slide tab, a little button we can slide from being super, super volatile all the way to the other end of the spectrum where we go, no, I'm very thankful. I'm glad to be here. I don't let things get to me. I have a high suck threshold, as we talked about earlier. Don't divide yourself. Don't let other people divide us. That's not what it's about. And underlying all of it, sacred or secular, philosophical or psychological, big bang, big breath, evicted from the Garden of Eden or the savannas of Africa. Either way, we're all connected. Heaven or the Higgs field. So what's your default mode? What's your ego shield? Don't let people pull you off your foundation. Don't let people pull you out of being impeccably human. No more upgrades. No more transformations. No more carrots at the end of the stick. I hear carrot juice is good for you. Take the carrots, blend it. And at the very least, for 20 minutes a day. What if 20-minute victories are the perfect complement to your goal-setting program? What if 20-minute victories is the perfect special sauce on your goal-setting program? Now, just to show you in terms of the division, you can go to any of these goal-setting experts and go, hey, look, Brian suggests you don't do goals.
Oh, well, just the absurdity. Where will you end up in life if you don't know where you're going? How can an airplane, if an airplane doesn't have a goal, it'll miss Hawaii and end up in Japan?
How do these people tie their shoes in the morning? I swear they must wear flip-flops. I'm willing to say, okay, I trust you to make the decision. Abandon all hope. He, ye, she that enter here. Abandon all hope, no hope. Magnify this moment. Excavate your extraordinary right freaking now. Right now. And then go back to your goal setting strategies. Go back to your plan. I'm a big enough fan of you to know, to believe in my heart, to know in my heart that you'll make the right decision. Why? Because all natural being is the truth.
People say, oh, no, you can't know the truth. No one can really know the truth.
Sure I can. You know what my definition of God has become of late? God is the uncluttered. God is the uncluttered. It's all natural being. However you define him, her, it, almighty, aliens, gravity, the grays, right? However you define it. All right, let's take one more quick break. And then we'll be back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
That was wild. Did you hear that? It sounded like someone beeped a horn in that. We should try that. Let's try, you know what? Hold on. Let's give me 11 more seconds. So let's try it again and see if we can hear that again.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
No, I don't know what happened there. It was a horn sound. I did hear it. I think maybe it's just at my end. All right. Thanks for indulging me there. All right. Segment number 3. Ow. I was supposed to remind you to reach out at 331-684-7685. Oh, I should have gone over there and checked. I sat back. 331-684-SOUL. Have any suggestions? Anything you want to let me know about? Also go over to allnaturalbeing.com. Drop me an email. I'll send you one back. We can hook up that way. We'll go over here. All right, so segment 3. What are we talking about in here? I saw an advertisement this morning for audio dramas. And it made me think, what is our attraction to audio dramas? What might it be? And then I thought, how many of us have an audio drama going on in our own mind? We're listening to all those voices. We're listening to all those fears. We're listening to all the different things the herd has to say. Trapped in the thicket. Just like mangroves in South Florida. Just trapped in the thicket of the hive mind. And we do that because we surrender to a passive mode of cognition. I'll just go with the herd. I'll go with the flow. But I'm not so sure that that's healthy for you and I. Neuroscientists aren't either, as you know, of late. Everyone doing all their studies, their research, and then reporting back saying, look, use your mind or lose it. Got to be thinking on your own 2 feet. Not bogged down in the beliefs of the people around you. What do you believe? What do you stand for? What will you not tolerate? Because if you don't have a list of those things that you simply refuse to tolerate, you're going to be taken advantage of. Talked about trapped in the thicket. What do you refuse to tolerate? One might be, well, I'm not going to tolerate being a pincushion. Everyone's got an opinion. Groovy. Doesn't mean they get to stick me with theirs. What if the audio drama is going on in our own minds? We listen to all those voices. We listen to those voices of dissent, those voices that keep promising us,
oh, well, let's just upgrade. Let's get a higher consciousness. Let's transform. Let's have a metamorphosis. Let's have spiritual growth.
no, I think I'd like spiritual retardation. I'd like us to fall back. I think I'd like us to take a quantum leap back to who we've always been, impeccably human. So my new rallying cry is, for goodness sakes, excavate your extraordinary. Don't get bogged down, trapped in the thicket of the static quo. Everybody telling you what your life should be or shouldn't be, what you ought to be, what you ought not to be, how you ought to act and ought not act. If you're here to cultivate something to believe in. And I'm simply suggesting that that something to believe in is you. Impeccably you. Minus all the shellac that was piled on your all-natural being. So no more passive modes of cognition. Let's start burning some of the psycho fat and flab. Some of the cognitive cellulite that we all have. How do we do that? What's an aerobic? Well, I call them anaerobic aphorisms in the mornings. What's both an aerobic and an anaerobic way that we can burn some of the psycho fat and flab, that we can get rid of some of the apathy, some of the amnesia, all of the blind spots? What's the way to do that? Remembering who we are. Restore your core. Have faith in yourself. Have confidence that when you turn within, nothing without can harm you. You do that. That's joy's passion unleashed. And it strikes you. It's happened to me 3 times in my life. And the third time it happened, and maybe we'll do this tomorrow. How's that for a little tease? I don't know, because I write these things. Who knows what'll hit me in the morning when I get up. But it does hit you in a flash. It does strike you like a 2x4 in the forehead, where you see in that moment, it's about restoration, not transformation. Everything you've always needed, you've always had. And if you and I use the mindset of excavating your extraordinary, then life really is a ride. It's a beautiful mystery. There's no suck to have a high threshold for. Because everything hones our head and our heart to be who we already are. So what do you say? You and I decide those regions of our minds that are unfit for habitation. We're just not going to kick ourselves when we're down. We're not going to pile on. We're not going to be anything but our best friend, but our biggest fan. We're not going to be the monkey on our own back. It's in you. If you're here, it's in you. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. In the spirit of unity, in the spirit of getting you to join their gang. It's in you. And that's the beauty of the labyrinth. The labyrinth is designed to strip away all that baggage. The labyrinth is designed to bring the ego's expiration date to fruition. The labyrinth is designed to remind the ego of its shelf life, which is why the ego so hates the concept of the labyrinth. Thy will be done. The Tao follows its own path. Inshallah, if Allah wills, whatever the definition is you give to the divine, however you decode, come forth into the light of things. Let nature be your teacher. Nature's full on labyrinth. That's all it is. All right, we're going to run. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Remember to excavate your extraordinary. If you're stressed, excavate your extraordinary. If you're down, excavate your extraordinary. Put a smile on your face. Remember who you already are. And life is a sweet, sweet ride. Now, there may be some uncertainty. Absolutely. That's the thrill. We can't predict what's going on. People say, oh, I can see into the future. Save it. I don't want it. If you gave me a pill right now that would allow me to see the future, I wouldn't want it. I don't want to have a carrot at the end of the stick. I want to unfold right now in this moment. I want to be the investigator. I want to be the detective that figures out right now, tapped into the unimaginable power of living in this present moment, the fingerprints of provenance that are designed, that were left behind just for me. And they were left behind just for you in your labyrinth. Get out there today. Have a fantastic day, fantastic evening, whenever you're listening, and excavate your extraordinary. I'll see you tomorrow.
All Natural Being. You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
Always remember, bring your own bold. And do it with a smile on your face. If nothing else, you know it's going to tick them off.
IPMNation.com.